previous video, we had a hands-on demonstration on how to create an AWS organization, set up organization units, invite or create AWS accounts, and configure SCPs. Now that you've got your AWS organization in place and some member accounts, it's time to see how we can actually access those member accounts from the management account. In this video, I want to show you how to use the cross-account access role in order to facilitate cross-account access between the management accounts and the member accounts. Let's do this. Okay, so let me bring you back to our AWS Organizations diagram for the Vagrant Studio. Now, at this point in time, we've got a management account, we've got development account in the development OU, and the production account in the production OU. One of the things that you will remember from the last video is that with the development account, this existed prior to creating the organization, and we had to invite the development account. We then went ahead and created another account called the production account using the organization service. You know, that more simplistic approach to setting up new accounts from within the organization rather than going through that lengthy process of creating an Amazon AWS account and then inviting it into the organization. One of the things you noticed, and I highlighted this in the last video, is that when creating an account from within the organization service, the AWS Organization Account Access role is created for you. Okay, and this role is created in the account that is being created. So in this case, the production account. And what this role does is it gives the management account full access permission to connect into and work in the production account. So we could have our user called Alice, and as long as Alice has got the ability to assume this role, she will be able to do a role switch and access the production account by simply logging into the management account and doing that role switch operation. In other words, we do not need to create a separate IAM account for Alice in the production account, which makes administration a lot simpler. Now, in the case of the development account, which existed prior to establishing the organization and which we subsequently invited as a member to the organization, this organization account access role hasn't been created for us automatically. So if Alice needs to access the dev account, perhaps because she's a developer, we will first need to actually create such a role to grant the management account access to the dev account. And so what we'll need to do is to create a new IAM role called the Organization Account Access role. And I like to keep the names consistent with the necessary trust policy for the management account to gain access. And Alice needs to be provided with sufficient permissions to assume that role so that she can do a role switch to access the dev account as well and work in the dev account, building our application. Now that you understand the theory, let's jump on into the AWS Management Console and actually set this up. Okay, before we go any further, I actually wanted to log on to the production account and quickly show you the role so that you can see how it was created and what it does. So let's log into the production account. And if you remember, we had created the production account from the organization service. So in fact, I do not actually have a password for the root user. AWS has randomly created a password, and what I need to do is go through the forgot password process. Let's do that really quickly. And I'll quickly reset my password and come back. Okay, so I've actually reset my password on my other laptop, so let's go ahead and log into the production app account. And that's my password. And we are in. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to take you to IAM. And in the IAM dashboard, if you click on roles, you will see there is the Organization Account Access role that was created for us. And the trusted entity is this account ID. This is the management account ID. Okay, so if we take a look at the role actually gives the account, the management account, full administrative permissions, and the trust relationship is specific to the management account being able to assume this role. And that's how this is going to work. So let's do a quick test. Let's get back into the management account and try and role switch into the production account. Okay, so I'm back in my management account, and what we're going to do is we're going to create a user called Alice first, and then when we log in as Alice, we're going to role switch into the production account. So let's create an IAM user called Alice first. Okay, and we go to users, and oh, actually Alice is already there. Fantastic. So this is Alice. Let's just check her credentials. and she's got full administrative access. I'm trying to keep the policies and permissions for our users quite simple at the moment, just to illustrate this concept. And so what we need to do now is actually do the role switch. Now, in order to perform the role switch, we need to know what we're switching into. Okay, so we need the account ID of the production account. In order to continue with the test, what we're going to do is we're going to log in as Alice. So I'm just going to make a note of the management account ID there. Going to sign out and log back in as Alice. So let's log back in. And this time, obviously, we're going to log in as an IAM user, plug in the account ID, and log in as Alice. Okay, so we have now logged in as Alice. Now, what we need to do next is perform a role switch. To perform a role switch, we need to know two things. One is the account ID that we're switching into, and two, the IAM role that we're going to assume. So I'm just going to quickly go to the production account again. And here we are in the production account. And in the production account, I'm going to make a note of the account ID. So that's the account ID. And I'm also going to make a note of the role. So that's the organization account access role. Okay, let's head back to the management account where we've logged in as Alice. Okay, here we are. And to perform a role switch, just click the drop down arrow at the top right hand corner of your name or Alice's name and click switch roles. Okay, and so we'll need to plug in the account ID there, and that's the account ID, and then the role name that we are assuming, and that's the organization account access role, and then we can have a display name. So this is Alice at production. Okay, and then you can choose a color to designate the type of account it is. So if it's a production account, we probably want to keep it red, okay, so that we know it's a really important account. And then click switch role. If all works really well, we will find ourselves in the production account. Okay, and we know that this is the production account because obviously if I now go into AWS Organizations, you will see that I'm part of the organization account. Okay, and obviously I can take a look at the account ID and I know that I'm in the production account. Okay, so now Alice has been able to jump or role switch from the management account into the production account. And when we go into the production account, depending on our permissions that has been assigned to Alice, we can do stuff, right? We can go into Amazon EC2 and spin up some servers. And that's as easy as it gets. Now, remember, the development account was invited, okay, to the organization. So it doesn't have that role. So we need to jump on into the development account and I want to show you how to create that role. So let's go back to the management account, this one, by doing a switch back. And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to open another browser incognito window, okay, where I'm going to log into the development account. So I'm going to leave this management account as is, and I'm going to go into another incognito window where I have my production account, sign out of the production account and log in to the development account. So let's do that next. Okay, so this is my production account. We're going to log out of the production account and we're going to log in to the development account. Okay, development@vacantstudio.co.uk, plug in our password. Okay, so here we are in our development account. We're going to now create the organization account access role. So for that, you need to go into IAM and we'll go ahead and create a role. Okay, so to create a role, click create a role. And the role that we are creating is a cross account access role. So you will need to click on this one over here that says AWS account, where you need to specify the account that you're granting access to. Okay, and so you need to provide the account ID of the management account. So let's just grab that very quickly. Okay, this is my management account. I'm just going to grab the account ID and I'm going to flip back to the development account. Okay, so we are in the development account again, paste that in there. So that's the account ID of the management account. At this point in time, we're not setting up MFA or requiring external IDs. These are discussed in more detail in other sections of the course, and we'll click next. Now, the policy that we're going to apply to this role is a full administrator access policy, okay, which is that one over there. Okay, and we're going to click next. Okay, and so we need to give it a role name. And then you will see it provides the STS assume service to the account. Okay, and then we just click create a role. And that creates the role for you. So we can now log into this account as Alice by doing a role switch from the management account. So let's test that out very quickly. So just before we do that, let's quickly grab the account ID of the development account that we're going to role switch into. And then let's flip over to the management account. Here we are in the management account. Alice is already logged in. So we're going to do another switch role action. This time the account ID is obviously that of the development account. And it's the same organization account access role that we need to plug in here. And this time it's Alice at development. And I'm going to give this one an amber code and click role switch. And there we are. We've now switched Alice into the development account. Okay, so we can now test this out. We can go into EC2, for instance, again, and just make sure that Alice has full access, which she does. And obviously your developers need not have full administrative access permissions. You would give them permissions based on the principle of least privilege. And that's it. Your AWS organization is working. Your users from the management account are able to role switch into your member accounts and perform any necessary actions that they would want to do. In the real world, obviously, you're not going to create IAM accounts in the management account. You would ideally create a separate identities account. Okay, I didn't want to take you through that process because it would just add more complexity to the lab unnecessarily. But hopefully you've now understood how important it is to centrally manage all of your IAM users in one centralized account, and we like to call that the identities account. And then they can role switch into other member accounts based on the permissions that they have. Okay, so that brings us to the end of this demonstration. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you.